Yeah, that's all good. Yeah, it's a long time since I've done for some of my weight loss stuff. I used to do a group session, but that was probably last sort of December, so quite a while ago.
And it changes. I mean, they do an update and suddenly you come in, it's moved, and
So
I do a few Zooms.
And
I went into it and the end, and it was just totally different.
Yeah. Hi, Martin. Can you hear us, mate? I don't know if you're on.
Yes, I can hear it.
How's it going?
Can you hear me?
I can, mate. Yeah.
Yes, brilliant. Thank you.
We're all winging it. Only John knows only John knows what he's doing. I don't
know what the hell I'm doing. I'll just come in here to buy some paint.
I like it.
Good at hypnotherapy with shit on Zoom. So yeah, it's still a bit early. I mean, like I invited a load of people, so I'm friends with a lot of people within my group, John. Right. So it sent an invite out, and then I was just checking it out today, and it's like all invites which people haven't seen, because I'm not friends with them. Yeah. So I was pinging a load away about an hour ago. So we could have just Martin, or it could be an influx of
it's not a problem, is it? It's not a problem. You record it and they want to, and it's not a problem. And if it's something that people can't even get hold of, we can always do it again. It is not a problem.
And also, when I done a poll, a lot of people did actually say they would prefer to listen to a recording, perhaps when they're working and stuff. Because also, you start saying, I've got my friend John coming in as a hypnotherapist. They're like, what the hell's going to happen? They're like, they don't know. I am
not going to make you cluck like a chicken and bark like a dog.
Yeah, somebody did say actually.
Martin.
There you go. That's a shame.
Does your video work, Martin, or you just want to stay video off? I don't care either way, mate. It's up to you.
I'm not sure what I'm doing, really, Gary. I'm amazed you can actually hear me, but that's brilliant. How do I do it? Start video.
Mouse down to the left-hand corner, Martin.
Yeah.
I've got a little microphone and a little camera. And start video.
Hi.
Oh, yeah, turn it off. No, turn it off.
That's better.
How's it going, Martin?
Good, thanks, Gary. Yeah, good.
Good. Yeah, so we'll leave it another few minutes, and then because
what's your background, Martin?
In regards to my career or hypnotherapy? I've been in the building trade all my life, mainly as a bricklayer, but I've just recently started doing painting and decorating, as most people do, with friends and family, and just word of mouth gets around, and just trying to keep busy.
Good.
Yeah, I love it. I wish I'd have done it years ago. I wish. Brickwork's hard work as you get older.
Yeah. My brother's a builder, and he was moaning about his elbow, and then his left elbow, then his right hand side he had pulled, and he's like, what is he, 51, I think.
That's exactly the same happened to me, my elbow.
Yeah, and he's like
tendonitis. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, it's not much fun, is it?
Bloody painful, mate.
Mind you, painting, I don't know. You only got to lift a brush up, but it's whenever my brother paints with me, at the end of each day, he's like, "Oh, I'm knackered, man." It's like different fitness, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, I guess so. It's like things are getting easier, though, aren't they? You get sanders and things like that. Easier than when I used to do it years ago, all by hand. It's just all these Merca sanders and things like that to make life a bit easier. And spraying as well. I'd like to get into the spraying side of it.
Yeah,
that looks good. That does look good. I must admit, I do like look at that. I had to go and see I rarely do home visits, But a guy was actually having his place decorated, but the back of the house, a very nice house. And when he showed me what he was doing, all the guys who were doing the painting and the ceilings, they're not using ladder, they're just doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Gotta be quicker.
Yeah, but yeah, really interesting to watch. But
especially what you do, Gary, the kitchens and things like that. Wouldn't that be quicker spraying?
It would, but a lot of the companies I work for, they actually request hand painted. So I don't know whether it's something they can tell coffee mums down Costa Coffee, you know, they're like, oh, it's all hand painted. But yeah, it's bloody time consuming.
Yeah, it is when you see these guys spray them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The hardest bit about spraying is taping it all up, isn't it? It's hilarious when you see them, all the taping, all the paper and all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, we've got Jordan joining. So Jordan works for Colour Supplies, which is our group sponsor, and he's like a paint geek with regards to products. But hold on, is he? Oh, he's gone. We'll just see if we can get Jordan to come in, and then we'll start. John, do you reckon?
Yeah, that's no problem.
Let's see what he's saying. Where are you based, Martin?
Warwickshire.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to get
near Leamington Spa, Warwick. Some
sort of database where we can all connect, you know, UK wide. Because like you say, stuff like spraying, I've hooked up with a couple of people who just specialize it, have done it for years, and then any spray stuff, I just get them in to do it.
Oh, do you?
Rather than training myself to do it, you know.
Right. Do they charge a lot more than what you would do to do it, or about the same?
Yeah, well, it just depends on the job really, but you know,
yeah.
you just put a bit on the top and make some money, you know. It's just another way of making money.
Yeah.
Right, let's find out what's happening with Jordan and then we'll get going. 2 seconds, guys.
This is a filter.
Well, Martin, if you're the only one attending, you're going to get a special prize, I reckon. Thing is, like, you know, I don't know, Facebook groups, like, you know, John, sometimes it's only a small percentage that see it.
Yeah. You think you're sending it to a load of people, and
yeah, it. Yeah, it's really, you know, this is like the first one we're doing. So
what I think ideally going forward is build up an email database.
Yeah.
And then just do go through MailChimp and just do a mass email to say that's what you've got coming up.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no guarantees, with Facebook, with their algorithm, you just don't know where it's going.
Yeah, that's all part of what I'm setting up at the moment, but it's sort of grown quite quickly, and you know, it's just getting it all in place so it's all automated. So
yeah, definitely.
Let me just check in my group to see if anyone's struggling to get in, and if not, we'll get cracking. Yeah. We'll have to remember to cut out this first bit. All right, well, okay. I'm sure Jordan will join us. All right, so let's get going. So welcome, John and Martin. So when I set up this painters group originally, because I did hypnotherapy, or studied hypnotherapy and qualified 5 years ago, it was something that helped me immensely in a very short period of time when I saw a cognitive hypnotherapist. And she sort of, you know, I was always into it, always into reading up on stuff and how your mind works and all the rest of it. And she said, oh, you should train to become one. So, which I did, and I still see clients now and again. But what I've realized is people like John are proper experts. And, you know, I really love doing it, but there's so many people, amazing people like John, who are just so fantastic. And when I set up the painters group originally, it was about kind of mental health and, you know, helping people, because I know how stressful it can be running a painting business. And yeah, we've grown the group enough now where I feel, you know, we need to introduce it to help people, because, you know, even you, John, you know, you're self-employed, running a business is stressful.
Definitely.
And for painters, you know, not getting paid, overload of work, taking too much on, you know, you don't get paid when you're on holiday, you know, it's a constant kind of 24/7 worry.
Yeah.
But what we were going to talk about tonight, John, is how, you know, we have all these programs and beliefs and systems in our subconscious which can jeopardize us sometimes. And, you know, we can have a problem client, say from 5 years ago, but perhaps, and you said it, John, tarnish all customers with the same brush, you know, and it's not necessarily true. It's just our subconscious beliefs and programs which are running in our brain, which can really jeopardize us. So, you know, I reached out to you and you kindly said, yes, you're the first guest speaker for us in the group. I know it's going to help people immensely. And yeah, you said earlier, I hope you got a load of questions. I'm like, no, I'm just going to wing it. I ain't got a clue. So you were going to
works out the best, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and you were just going to come on and talk about how, you know, certain stuff, if we've got problems at home or we're stressed or all the rest of it, we can turn up at clients' houses and it can actually show, you know, in us physiology and all the rest of it.
Definitely.
You know, you're going to talk about how we can kind of get out of our van and meet and greet people. Like
leave it in the van, leave it at home.
Yeah.
You know, you can't afford to take it into that client. That's what I want to. That's the message I really want to get across to people, because, you know, like we're saying, running our own business, it is extremely tough, and we do our best each and every time. But even we know that our best isn't always good enough for some person, and that person usually is the one that doesn't really want to pay or wants to get something off, and is going to, you know, twist anything that you try to do. And even if you go extra mile, you bend over backwards, which you're normally doing, it's your own business, they are going to bring it back to them, their problem.
Yeah.
So you've got to go in there with a fresh mind. You've got to go in there that, you know, with those hundreds and thousands of customers behind you that have praised your work, that have given you recommendations and everything else, not that one customer or that, you know, half a dozen that moaned, that whinged, because they are just moaners. They are just whingers. That's what we've got to do.
Yeah.
But the reason we go in there feeling like that is because what happens, our unconscious mind, to break it down, we've got 95%, which is our unconscious mind, and we've got 5%, which is our conscious mind. But the conscious mind, well, that's like a little 4-year-old running around in your head. They're both got the intention of doing the best for you, but they do it in very different ways. The unconscious mind is always going to keep you safe. It's going to keep you happy. But if you've got a little bit of doubt in your mind, it is going to accelerate it. It is going to do, you might turn up, you know, you could turn up to a job, you could get out of your van and you could feel absolutely wonderful. And you walk up and it's got a brown front door and your mood changes. And I go, what the hell? And you don't know. And suddenly what it is that one time you went and done a job and you might have spilt some paint. You might have had a complaint. You might have kicked a dog, whatever. They had a brown front door. Your unconscious mind goes, oh, do you remember last time this happened? And it all comes back. Doesn't mean to, but it does. It just reminds you, because when it first happened, and it could have been your first job as an apprentice even, when it first happened, it tried to protect you. You know, you might have got told off by the boss and you were sent home, I think, and you got out of there. So the unconscious mind done its job. It got you out of a situation that was making you feel anxious, that was making you feel angry or frustrated or whatever. But the way it protected you then, and you might have been 16 back then, it protected you in that way, and it's carried on protecting you in that same way day after day, because it worked then. What it doesn't see is the bigger picture that, well, actually, I'm now the boss of the company. I'm now doing this, and I can do, I can do those jobs blindfolded. It doesn't realize that you've moved on quite so much. It just knows that, oh, the last time you had a brown front door, you had this is what happened. And it keeps protecting you. It is the old fight or flight mentality. That's what goes on. And that comes back down to, the good old cavemen. And, basically, there's one caveman, he went out year after year to this same water pool and he washed himself. He got water for his family, blah, blah, blah. And then one day he went there and there was a saber-toothed tiger on the other side looking at him. And suddenly he's in danger. He runs away. He forgets that he's been going there for the last 20 years and never seen anything. But that one time is now locked in. So he doesn't go to that water hole anymore. He's got to go miles. He goes to another water hole because he can't go back. He can't do that. I had one of my clients, it was within my first year, I think. He was a pilot. He was a commercial pilot, but retired. And he came to me because he bought a light aircraft and he took it up in the wind, and he knew he shouldn't have taken it up. And as he was coming down, he realised that the wind was getting a bit too strong. So he thought, no, I'm going to go down safely. As he was about to touch down, freak gust of wind, literally freak, and it flipped him. But he walked away. It wasn't a problem. He got out and he went, okay, not a problem. He got a phone call a couple of days later from the insurance company. Could they meet him at the aerodrome just so they can go over the details? Yep, no problem. He left his house, got in his car, went down to the end of his road, went to turn left, and he froze. He lost it. He started shaking and he started physically, crying. He went back home, phoned the guy up, said, I can't make it. This has happened. They said, okay, we'll reschedule. They rescheduled. The same thing happened. He went down the road, he turned left. So he came to me and said, I don't know what's going on. And I said to him, I want you to do me a favour. I want you to drive to the airport tomorrow from your house, but I don't want you to turn left. I want you to turn right. He said, but that's a longer way. I said, I know, but go right. Don't go your usual way. Okay. And he went out and got out and he got all the way to the airfield until he saw that windsock. And then he lost it again because the unconscious mind kicked in. Last time you was here, you nearly died. You walked away, but you nearly died because it was all going through his mind. And that's what our unconscious mind does all the time. But we can override it. And that's what I want to offer you tonight, because my biggest belief in all that I've ever done is people by people. And when you go to price a job, yeah, it's great when you get recommendations and everything else, but if those people don't gel with you, if they don't like you, they're not going to invite you into their home and let you do, their decorating to their specification. But if you turn up on that door and you've had a row with the wife, or you happen to be in a road where the neighbours down the road, they either booked you and then let you down, or they didn't pay, or whatever, you are going to remember it. You are going to feel it, and you are going to show that to that person that opens that door. You won't mean to, but it will be there. It is seen straight away. So we can combat that, because as brilliant as our unconscious mind is, or our brain is, we can't handle two emotions at one time. So we can't be angry, frustrated, or annoyed, or anything, and calm. It's impossible. And the interesting thing is that anger, fear, phobias, all those type of things, they meet in the stomach. There are a series of emotions that all get together and say, right, we have got to get out of this situation. How are we going to do it? And they have a bit of a chat and they go, right, well, last time we done it, gave them wobbly legs and that made them leave and go home, or give them sweaty palms, or, you know, let's race their heart because that make them think they're going to have a heart attack and they won't bother going in. When that doesn't work, they then ramp it up a little bit. You then start sweating externally, or you get flushed. And the reason it's doing that is because it wants someone else to say to them, oh, you don't look well, are you okay? And they go, no, I'm not okay, I'm going to have to go home. They've got their ticket out of there. But while they're meeting in the stomach, and you start to feel it, you start to feel it coming, because sadly, we don't realize it, but we are turning up that heart rate. We're turning up the sweats. We're turning up the sweaty palms because we start focusing on them. So we have to use an anchor. Now, what you have to do is you create an image in your mind, an image of a time when you may have done an absolutely fantastic job. Could be in a 2 up, 2 down. It could have been in a mansion. But there is always going to be a job where you felt absolutely fantastic. You was really proud of it. You have got to relive that job. You live that job and you get in that job and you go back there and you stand back in that job and you look at it and you turn up the colors, you turn up the sounds, the smells and everything. And you make it so real, because when you make it and you think about it, your brain very quickly makes that picture. Oh, I remember that. Oh, that was great. That was, you hear the words of praise. You can put those even if it's after, you can be standing in, let's say, in that kitchen, but hear the words of praise. Oh, I've done a fantastic job. Oh, yeah, I heard about that. That was brilliant. You turn everything up, the sounds, the smell, even the smell of the paint. But as you do that, you start to feel good. You start to remember just how good you are at what you do. And the trick of it is, and you can try it now if you're listening to this, as long as you're not driving or with machinery
or painting.
Or painting, that is on stilts. Yeah. Wait until your feet firm on the floor, sitting in a comfortable chair or laying down, whatever. What I want you to do is just, and we're not doing any trance work. Don't worry, you're not going to bust into song when Kylie Minogue comes on the radio tomorrow. Actually, Gary, we might do that for you. No, we won't. Right.
You see me work.
Just close your eyes just for a moment. And think about a time. It doesn't, it may be a job that you was on. It may just be family time or a time. Doesn't matter when. But get that time in your head. And as you think of that time, I want you to imagine that you've got a remote control in your hand. And then turn everything up. Turn the sounds up so loud. Turn the colours up so they're really vivid. Imagine there's a button to turn the smells up even. Relive that time when you felt really confident, when you felt really good about yourself, your capabilities. You just had all that confidence inside of you. And when you feel it is at its very peak, when you feel it is at the most, I want you just to take a deep breath. And as you do, pinch together your finger and thumb like the OK sign of your dominant hand. Just pinch together that finger and thumb when you think it is at that. Keep thinking you're in that area, wherever it is for you. It doesn't matter where it is. You might just want to be on a beach somewhere so that you're really nice and calm. It doesn't matter. Just turn up the sights, the sounds, the textures. When it's at its peak, take a deep breath, pinch together your finger and thumb, take another breath, and then release your finger and thumb and open your eyes. Now, what we've done there, we've created an anchor that's going to come from the mind, and you can practice on doing it so you can make it even more real. But at any time, if you start to feel a bit stressed, a bit worried, and about anything, doesn't have to be to do with painting. It could just be, it could be a trouble at home, trouble with the kids, whatever. If you need to calm down, you take that breath and you pinch together that finger and thumb. Your brain will automatically go back to that anchor and you will calm down. Because all those earlier feelings, that anxiety, that worry, that frustration, that was you. You were turning it up because you started thinking about it. It put the thought there, it planted that thought into your mind, but then you started everything racing. Even another simple trick to do is when you are going out to price jobs, which is usually when that first client is going to see you. Yep, you may have been recommended, but they've never met you. And, you know, they might have totally different tastes to that person that recommended you. So you've got to set a good impression. On that way to that job, just get a habit of having, if you've got a CD player where you stream your music in your car, a piece of music that really makes you smile, a piece of music that can just turn your mood around. It could be something that you heard at the school disco many years ago, and it just brings back good memories, the first girlfriend, the first kiss, or whatever. Just something that can change your mood for the better. And if at any time, whether you might go in to do a job, or you might be called to a job where they want to complain. Now, if you're going into a job where they want to complain, you already go with your guard up. You already go, and it may come across a bit aggressive. You don't mean to, but you're already on the back foot because you're expecting it. But you could walk in there and it could be the smallest complaint. It may not even be of something that you've actually done, but they're just whinging or whatever. You've got to go in there non-committal at all and go, what's the problem? You know, what are we dealing with here? But to do that, you have got to be, as you knock on that door, you have got to be calm. If for any reason there's something you haven't got, you know, the music available or anything else, you can sit in that van, that car, whatever you've taken, that vehicle, and when you pull up outside, just before you go in, you take a deep breath. A deep breath is everything that you need. That will clear and calm you down. And as you do that, hold on to that steering wheel. Squeeze that steering wheel as if you're squeezing the life out of it. Because what you're doing, you're sending all your anger, all your frustration down into that steering wheel from your hands. It's like when people come to me for anger management, it all goes down to that fist, but what they don't do, all the anger is in that fist, and then they go and hit someone. What I teach them to do is, well, we calm down the anger, but if that anger does get down to that hand, before you raise it in aggression, you throw it away, you just let it go. You can do it behind your back so they don't see the fist forward, but you let it go, because all it's looking for, anxiety, anger, fear, it is looking for a way out of your body. It doesn't care how it gets out, but if you just literally, you put yourself in control of it, and you go, oh, I could really hit them. Yeah, bang, just throw it away. That means you are then back in control. You have got to bite your tongue. We know that, because we know, as business owners, we know that one bad review can undo all the good work that you have done, because people are very quick to read and remember bad reviews rather than all the good ones. So you do have to bite your lip. You might want to say something, but you know that you really can't afford to. And you've got to get across that to your lads. Some of you, most of you, have got apprentices working for you who don't have that same moral standards as you. And they're going to say something, or they're going to smoke in someone's house where they shouldn't, or something like that. You have got to show them the qualities that you want and how to deal with it, because it is about people buying people. And if you've got to think, you've got to look at yourself, because it does all start with you. And you've got to think, think of a job where you did turn up, where you prejudged something, or, perhaps it's a job that you really didn't particularly want because so-and-so was a neighbour, or that they're whingers or whatever. But we can't afford to turn work away nowadays. So you go there. If you go in there with that preconception, they're going to see it. So you have got to go in, and you've got to look at yourself and think to yourself, would I employ this guy? Would I let him and his team come into my home and, disrupt my home? Because if you wouldn't employ you, if you wouldn't give you the job, why would you expect strangers to?
I think as well, John, like with problem clients, the same with what you've said about us in the past having a job where it's gone tits up or whatever.
Yeah.
they may well have had tradesmen in and they tarnish us with the same brush.
Yeah.
So it works both ways, doesn't it?
Oh, it certainly does. But it's that old adage, isn't it? You know, they say, oh, the customer's always right. We know as the business, and we know that they're not. A lot of the time, they really don't. You know, you're professional in your job, I'm professional in mine, but there's always people out there who think that they know better.
Mm.
And that is what you've got to change. That is where you've got to, and what you can't afford to do, you know, if you're on a job, let's say the job's 3 or 4 days, if you have a bad day on that job, you can't take that bad day into the next day and the next day. Otherwise, it's 4 days of hell.
Yeah.
And actually, you didn't have a bad day. You had a bad 5 minutes that you extended the whole day.
Yeah.
And then it's going to continue doing it because it annoyed you. So your unconscious mind goes, oh, he's upset. He's annoyed. You know, he goes, he don't like this. So it's going to give you all the reasons on why you shouldn't be there or what you should be doing, you know, and you go, okay, well, if I rush it, I'll get out of here quicker. If you rush it, you're not going to do a professional job. Yeah. You have to maintain your professional standards at all times. So you have to, as soon as, you know, if you are being tarnished with the same brush, as we say, and everything, you've got to let it go. You've got to you've got to be able to brush it off.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it will stay in there. Our unconscious mind holds on to everything that you have ever seen, felt, smelt, and touched from the moment you was conceived to present day.
Yeah.
So I liken it, because when I'm in my teaching days, I was a computer teacher. I liken it, our minds is like a computer. And if you imagine when you use your computer or your tablet, all the tabs that are open, you know, all those little icons on your screen, those programs are already a third open because they're the ones that you use the most. So the computer thinks it's doing you a favor. I'm putting them up on here because when you click on it, I can open up that much quicker. All the tabs at the bottom, all the Googles, all the news, all the things, they're all open. So you imagine how many tabs you've got open in your brain, all the stuff that you haven't let go of. And the triggers, you don't know when, you know, when they're going to come out. And I worked with a painter and decorator once, and he was on a fantastic job. He loved the people that he was going to do the work for. They were supplying the paint, but he told them where to get it, and that was absolutely fine. He went into the job, worked it all out, done everything. He went in there and he opened the tin of paint, and the colour hit him like a brick in the face, because it was a colour that he'd done that this guy ripped him off for thousands. That poor couple, you know, they didn't know what hit them, sort of thing, because he went from lovely Mr. Nice Guy to a ball of anger, you know. And luckily he came to me, and, you know, then I said, well, you know, yep, we can sort it, that's no problem. But you've got to go in and you've got to apologize to those people. You tell them the story, tell them what happened. You know, they will understand. But that's what happens. It happens so quickly, and you just don't know when it will happen. So you have to be able to learn how to control your mood, your unconscious. You've got to take control of that mood. Otherwise, if you let it control you, it will get out of hand. And so that's what we do. And, you know, the other thing that you have to learn, especially in your trade as well, is look for a solution, not a problem. If you go into somewhere and, you know, you've done a lovely job the day before and then you've gone back, but, you know, the owners of the house have been going around with a bloody magnifying glass looking for something, and when they point it out to you, you know, our instinct is go, are you joking? Look, it's, you know, but to them it's a problem. And they're paying your wages, they're paying your bill. So you don't look at the problem. The problem's already happened. What you sell is for a solution. Oh, okay, we can do that. You know, we can replace that strip, or we can sand that down, and we can do that. You've got to find the solution straight away. You know, if the problem is, again, one of the lads, you know, perhaps he's you know, on the phone too much, or perhaps he's a bit, you know, too verbal for the owners of the house. Well, you don't go out full back. You've just got to say to the lad, okay, look, you're in someone's house, please respect their wishes. Can we keep the dinner? Or, stay off your phone. I'm paying you to do this. This is what's done. You find a solution to the problem.
And that's a good point, John. Like you say, I've invited you into my group, but it's like you've been in for months. We often see like people going to jobs and there's post-it notes everywhere, and it's like, what the hell, and it gets your back up. But what it is, like you say, you're unconscious. It's pattern matched it to a job in the past. It might have been 10 years ago where you lost some money. It may not have happened for 10 years, but straight away it would take you back to that particular moment in time, get you back up, fight or flight will kick in, and like you say, it's just, you need to look for a solution, because it does happen frequently. You see it all the time in groups where people, either complain about little discrepancies, or there's tons of furniture in the way, and it's like, what the hell, how am I supposed to paint?
Yeah.
But you may not have had a job that was as bad as that for maybe 2 years, but it will bring up memories.
Yep.
And spike your anger. And what's interesting is, I'm just going to let in Beverly. What's interesting is the way our unconscious works as well is, you just sometimes, like you say, you can go into a rage or be upset or whatever, but you just don't know what it relates to. No. Because there's millions of memories from our lifetime, isn't there?
That's why, my strength is in what's called content-free hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
So when people come to me, 9 times out of 10, the problem that they come to me with is never the problem. That is just the last one, because our minds are like a bucket under a dripping tap. And the last thing that set them over the edge, they're saying that's my problem and everything else. But it's not. It was the one drip that literally overflowed that bucket. Mm. So, as you say, we don't know what sets us off and how it sets us off, but it will do it. It's human nature. That's how it does it. But if you go in there looking for that solution and go, yeah, we can solve that, you will have a better, you'll have a better attitude in walking into that. They'll appreciate it, because, working in that trade, there are always going to be people who's going to do the post-it note jobbies. They are going to do it. But they are also usually, if you handle it right, they are the people that then recommend you, and they're really pleased because of what you did do. Because they think, oh yeah, well, you followed all my instructions. No, you didn't. You took it on board, but you do that anyway. Oh yeah, well, I was going to paint that. That's absolutely fine. Or that was going to be gloss. That wasn't going to be matte, whatever. But they think they've taken control. Yeah. It is looking, you've got to focus on what you want, not what you don't want. And that's in, not just in the industry, but it's also in life as well. Because, I do it when I do my pre-talks here with my clients. 2 skiers at the top of a slalom ramp. There's a professional skier, and then there's a dad who's going to show off to his kids. The dad is looking down that ramp and going, oh, look at those trees, look at those rocks. Oh, God, I hope I don't hit them. I hope I don't go into them. The professional skier is standing up there looking, I've got to get from here down to there the quickest way. And that path there is the quickest way to do it. He doesn't even look at the trees. He doesn't look at the rocks. That is the fastest way. And that's what we need to do in life. We focus on what we want. And with you guys, what you want is to give your customer the best job that you can possibly do, because if they like what you do, they're going to recommend you, they're going to pay your wages and everything else. So ultimately, whether they're complainers, whingers or whatever, you have both got the same aim. You want to do the very best for them, for your business and for their home. So you just have to find that solution. So you just think, okay, I have got to find a solution. And in most cases, it's an easily found solution. But when you get annoyed, when you start seeing red, that solution gets pushed further and further back.
Yeah. Got a question for you, John. So, as you know, life is not always a fairy tale. Stuff happens, and a lot of decorators, post where they can be on a job and stuff's going on at home or wherever it may be, or maybe they've just, I don't know, fallen out of love with decorating, and it can't be the particular job you're on, can it? You know, it's going to be some kind of memory.
Yeah.
So it's like, what would you suggest? Because what prompted me was when you were doing some, you know, NLP about anchoring and stuff, which I love.
Yeah.
You know, I forget from my training how you could perhaps use it if you're having a day where you're on a bit of a downer and you can't be asked and not feeling it.
Yeah.
You could use the same process of anchoring a feeling for when you did feel good. And it's all about repetition, isn't it? So when you kind of anchor it, you can keep practicing and stacking it so you can feel good in whatever situation.
The easiest way, you know, that finger anchor that I'd done earlier, and, you know, that is a great one because it's a real incident and it feels it. But what you do, you know, if you think you've still got another 3 fingers on that hand, you can have different anchors on different ways. So, you know, if you want, you know, to say, if you're going in, let's take that as an example that you are falling out of love with it. And you're actually thinking, well, do I change careers? Do I change paths? You're doing that because what you're going through is all the rough jobs that you've had, or all the jobs that really didn't do it. It's not because you've fallen out of love. It's just that you've got a bit fed up with it. You got into a bit of a rut with it. So if you feel that you're doing that, but you obviously, you need the job, you need the money, you want to please the customer. So you put the very best job on one finger. If it's a home, you know, if it's a situation at home, so, you know, you've walked out and you're in a bad mood because the wife has been on you or the husband's been at you again and everything else, then, you know, choose somewhere else, a nice lonely beach. It doesn't have to be, you know, have another beach on another finger. Different thoughts, because it is about our focus. You know, and to put that into perspective, it doesn't link in with what you guys do, but the little lad playing in the garden and he falls over and he breaks his arm, he screams. Mum and Dad run out. Mum puts a sling on him and gets it into a comfortable position. He's still screaming. They get him in the car. They take him to hospital. He's still screaming. They see the nurse. They see the doctor. He goes, oh, I think it's broken. Let's go and have an x-ray. He's still screaming. They go, yeah, it's broken. Let's go and put a plaster on it and we'll see you in 6 to 8 weeks. He comes out of that plaster room beaming, smiling. Nothing has changed other than his focus. It's in exactly the same position that Mum or Dad got it into in the garden, in the sling. But in his mind, oh, I've got a sling, you know, he'll come out and say, Mum, sign my cast, or Dad, I'm going to school tomorrow, it's going to get filled. Nothing has changed other than him focusing. So if you walk into your jobs focusing on all the bad jobs that you've done instead of all the good ones, you're going to be moody. You are not going to do a great job, because when you're cutting in, you know, on the skirting boards, you're going to go, oh, you know, last time I did this, that old Mr. Brown, he really moaned at me. He really had a go at me. And then suddenly you overthink it. And as soon as you start overthinking it, that's when you make mistakes. That's when, oh, bloody hell, there's a drip, or it's gone on the wallpaper or whatever. Whereas if you had just gone, do you know what? I'm thinking of that, you know, all those ones that I've done, those hundreds that I've done. Yeah, bang, and you're away.
It's like our feelings are obviously unconscious, but it's same as what we do, you know, with painting. It's all unconscious, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You've done it so long, you just do it.
You just do it. And you will do it. And it's, you know, our unconscious mind, that 95% is brilliant. And it has got your best intentions. But what it does, it creates habits, good habits in a lot of cases, and sometimes bad habits. You know, when I deal with smokers, I have to deal with that part of the unconscious mind that has created the smoking habit. Because if you don't get that part to do another job of its choosing, it's always going to be there. That's why you hear of people, oh, yeah, well, I stopped for 6 months and then someone opened a packet of fags, or was out in and I started smoking. Yes, because that part that made you a smoker still wants to smoke, still thinks it's doing you a favour. And because you haven't given it a job to do, it's there, sitting on your shoulder, just waiting. It will whisper to you, go on, have a fag, one's not going to hurt. If you think about it, you know, most of us on here drive. When we first got into the cars, whether it was with Dad or the instructor or whatever, we all saying, oh, what pedal do I push? When do I change gear? How many revs have I got to get? And everything else. And then you had a few lessons and suddenly you got more and more used to it. And then you could drive. So you had a habit of driving. Now, that part of you that learnt to drive is a driver and it's in you. You could go and get in anybody's car now and drive it because you've got that habit. If you learned to swim when you was 9 or 10 and you haven't swam in 15, 20 years, if, God forbid, that, you know, one of your kids or someone you knew fell into water or you fell into water, you would be able to swim because that part's created a habit. And what happens, we can create habits in a very short space of time. So if you know, sod's law, if you have one bad job in the beginning of the week, that week's going to be crap because you're going to take that bad job into the next one and to the next one. Because all you're going to focus on is what went wrong with that first one. And you're going to keep reliving it. It's going to keep happening. So you have got to take back control of it and go, do you know what? Each time it's always a fresh client, fresh customer. Just because they've got the same paint or the same front door or whatever, they are not Mr. Smith. You know, they are new people who I'm going to show them just how good I am. And it is down to that unconscious mind. It is doing us a favor. It is trying to keep us happy and safe, but in the wrong way. It's doing it in a way that worked many, many years ago, and it's carried on doing it. The thing about our brain, as brilliant as it is as well, cannot tell the difference between real and imaginary. And if you think about that, you know, these virtual reality goggles that the kids wear. My son, if my son wants to wind me up, I've got a desk outside this room. If he wants to wind me up, he will put an app in these virtual reality. And I don't like roller coasters. He will put a roller coaster on it. He will slip it over my head. And I will sit there and I will wave and I will feel queasy if I don't get it off quick enough. But my brain doesn't go, well, hang on a minute, you was at your desk a second ago. Now you're in Las Vegas on a roller coaster. What it sees, it believes. So you have got to believe that you are.
I get the, sorry, I get the overthinking. I do that quite a lot. I was by an old boss of mine used to come around and say, is that all you've done? Yeah, and you start feeling that guilt. Yeah. Have I done enough? So you start rushing, and then I start worrying that I haven't done things quick enough.
Yeah. So, but what you got to think, Martin, is like those things that I'm overthinking. If you actually look back at the things that you've overthought, whether it's to do with work, at home, or whatever, how many of them have actually happened or come true? Very little, if any at all. When we worry about things that we can't control. You know, your customer might come up to you and say, oh, yeah, well, when my neighbour had this one done, they couldn't get that corner right or that cut in right and everything else. And suddenly you'll be thinking about that. Oh, God, I'm going to have to really focus on that. And
yeah.
Whereas actually, no, if they hadn't have said anything, you would have just done what you do best and gone in and done whatever's needed. So that's what you've got to do. You've got to, you know, if anyone, you know, let's say you walk into a job and they've left you a list of, they want this, and this done. You scan the list, you look at the list and go, yeah, that's fine. You're still going to do it your way. You are still going to do it your way because you know you've been doing it for years. Your way is the best. You look on board, you go, yeah, that's all achievable. That's absolutely fine. So you don't worry about it. You just do it. That worry, what they wrote down, that's their problem, not your problem. So if it's not your problem, you don't worry about it. You let it go. And again, you know, our mind works in pictures so much better than it does in words. And, you know, to prove what, you know, how many times have you watched a film at home, you see an actor on it and you go, oh, what's he been here? Oh, I know him from something. The more you think about it, it doesn't come. But you've seen him, you've actually, you know, he was acting in it and everything else, but you can't see it. As soon as you stop thinking about it, you know, you go out and make a cup of tea or something, bang, it comes back up to you. But you saw his face, you knew him. So if that's the case, you can imagine if you do get a load of worries, if you get Just imagine, go into fantasy land from it. Just imagine it, like a black cloud over it. You go, oh, piss off, let it go. Just release it. That's what you've got to do. You've got to let it go. If you've got a hobby, if you're a golfer, imagine that their issues, their problems, that note, those Post-it notes that they've put in, that's on that tee. Bang, whack it with give it the best shot that you have ever shot. If you're a football fan, imagine that you're on the, hello turf of whatever team you support. And you're going to kick that ball because that ball is full of all those worries. You're telling your mind you don't want it, you don't need it. And you just do it just for a split second. You just let it out. It just releases it. And in doing that, once your mind knows that you don't want it, it will do its best. It won't let so many in. That's the key to it, not letting them into your head, because if they get in the head, they will take root and then they will stay there until you least expect it, and then it will turn up. And you'll turn up on another job in your cases, and then actually, no, I haven't. So then you have to start overthinking it because it's not exactly the same problem.
That's the key, John, isn't it? Sorry to interrupt. 95% unconscious, every single day. And that's why it overtakes us. Whereas, the 5% conscious part of our brain, that's what you're talking about, isn't it? Because ultimately we are in control of our lives. We need to consciously take control. And one of those, the worries and the 95% unconscious worries, like I say, just kick it into touch and get rid of it.
Get rid of it. Just do it, visualize it and just get rid of it, because if you don't let it in, it's not going to take root. And the other thing is that wherever there is a negative, there is always a positive. There's always yin and yang, happy, sad, always. You just have to look for the positive of the negatives that perhaps your customer or your client or prospective, what they're bringing to you. They might say something and you go, oh yeah. But if you do that, you do know that you're going to lose, X amount, so if the builders are in here, oh yeah, well, I want that brick wall, yeah, but, you look for the positive. You give them oh, okay, hadn't thought of that. Bang, you're the expert. You've taken back control. There is always the flip side.
Quick question, John, before we speak to Martin direct, just to see if he's got any more questions, but it's just something that comes to mind, looking through my group and stuff. A lot of people, decorators, do have anxiety. So say they've got to do a papered feature wall the next day, they'd literally have anxiety about it, or finish a job and walk away and they're like, oh, was it good enough? Now, also, I think it's important to explain that it's just a belief system about themselves, isn't it? It's not about their skill, their decorating, so it's just one of the belief systems, unconscious belief systems, which could have been installed, from a young age, and it's nothing to do with anybody's ability, right?
I deal with a lot of people who come to me, and when we do any trance work, it usually comes back to teachers. And they didn't do it intentionally, but they did, in the old days, you could go, oh, that's a bit stupid, isn't it? That's been a bit silly. They hear the word stupid. Oh, I'm stupid. Yeah. And if you hear that enough, you start to believe it. But some people who try to motivate you, try to drive you on, they do it in the wrong way. A bit like Martin's boss there, who were going, oh, is that all you've done? You could have done better. He's had that said to him at some point when he was owner, and that's what he's carried on in his foremanship type job. Yeah. Where actually, you would, if you think about it, yeah, that's all I've done, but look at the quality of it. That is great. I don't rush. I do a professional job.
Yeah.
So you come back and go, oh, okay, fair enough. It's that inner voice. It could be sometimes parents do it all the time. We don't mean to, but we do it all the time. And if you do it, if you're there painting and let's say you haven't mixed the paint right, or it drips off the brush, should be non-drip and it doesn't, and you go, oh, you silly git. You call yourself that enough time, your unconscious mind's going to go, oh, he wants to be silly git. He is a silly git. That's it. You do it, You do it enough, call yourself enough times, you are going to believe it. And everybody, people with anxiety, if they have got that anxiety, it starts with you. You have got to release it. You've got to take back control, because anxiety is the fear of the future, and that hasn't happened yet. The only thing that we can control is the here and now. Past, that's done. If you made mistakes, you've learned from them. If they weren't your mistakes, well, you don't need to worry about them. And even when we think about past memories, they're not exactly as they were because you've attached an emotion to it. You know, you may have done a great job. Brilliant. That's a great one. Or someone may have moaned. You don't know. So you've attached that memory. So suddenly you've created this memory that isn't 100% yours anymore. The only thing that you can control is the here and now. So, you know, the job that you're going to go to tomorrow, doesn't matter if you've done a great job the day before, doesn't matter if you've done a bad job, you know, last week. That job is a whole new job, and you know that you are a professional tradesman and you are going to do your best, because one thing, your best is always good enough. Doesn't matter what anyone ever tells you. Your best is always good enough. You are the owners of the business. You are working for that business. You are doing what you do because you gave your best and you continue to give your best. And that's what you've got to believe. So you can tune out of that inner voice, that inner critical voice. You know, we tune out of things all the time. If we turn down a radio, it's still there. It's still there, but we've just tuned out. It's just gone down. You know, if we turn the light out in a room, the furniture's all still there. We just can't see it. We've tuned out.
It's like when I used to, you know, see some clients, and I still see some now and again. It's like, if you write down or listen to how you speak to yourself, would you speak to your best friend like it?
That's what I say.
You know, and they're like, Jesus, no way. You know, like, why are you speaking to yourself like it?
Yeah.
And you only believe that certain stuff about yourself because of what's been imposed on you by other people.
Oh yeah.
It's not even about it's not who you are, you know?
No.
You know, when you're born, you're a blank canvas, aren't you?
Yeah. The other thing that I do, which has been, it's been a game changer for me. It's what's called negative memory release, because of these memories where something has happened. So if you did have the job from hell, in your cases, you know, paint spills, rips and everything else, that is going to live for a long time, because every time you go to price a job, you're going to, oh, what if they contact them or whatever? And you feel either, you know, the emotion that comes up when you think about it is worry or anger, maybe anger at the person, maybe anger at, you know, your team that did it. Doesn't matter, but you need to let that go. And I got into this because my son was in the army and he came back on leave at one point and he had changed. He had got a bit of PTSD. He was coming towards the end, and he, full intention, he was going to join up for another 4, but he said, Dad, I don't want to, but he wouldn't let me know why. So I learned this skill, which is basically IEMT, which is integrated eye movement therapy. But to let you know what it does, when you think about something, whether it's a past job, whether it's the row with the, you know, your partner or whatever, your brain very quickly makes a picture and it gives it to you in a split second. That's what you're thinking about. And what I can do out of trance, by using different eye movements and moving my finger across different axes, I can get your brain to drop pieces of that picture. It's like a puzzle, like nicking the corner pieces out and then taking the center pieces out. And if you take enough pieces out, it's physically possible to feel that emotion. And sometimes you do just need to let that go. And it could be related to what you do. It could be totally unrelated. But every now and again, it's going to come back and haunt you. So if you need to do that, there is a way that you can let that image, and then it doesn't matter if you was to see it on a TV film or show, you know, you would relate, you could go, oh yeah, I remember that, but you wouldn't feel any emotion. You're not suddenly reliving that moment again.
I'll tell you what, John, just you saying about it, and I know what you've developed, you can do it in 2 sessions, can't you?
Yeah.
But when I was training years ago, one of the tutors done something similar, you know, eye movement.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I remember it now. It was about a client that hadn't paid, or there was some problem with a job. It was decorating related. So on our lunch break, you know, he's doing all this. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, right, just focus on my finger. And he said, try and remember it. And literally very, very quickly, he's like, okay, how do you feel about it now? And I felt like my brain was going ding, 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 ding. It scrambled my brain so much. And I just started laughing and it had gone.
You can't find it. Yeah.
The craziest thing I've ever experienced. And that's what really got me hooked when, you know, I was training and, you know, subsequent training I've done with you and, you know, Matt Gilbert stuff and that. But yeah, it's amazing.
It is. I mean, you know, our brain is a brilliant tool, but when it realizes that someone outside of it wants to help and help that person, it will give all the help it can. But like you said, you know, talking to yourself as if you're your best friend, it all does start with us. You have got to believe in yourself. Don't let the people that perhaps brought you down. Don't let, if you've got apprentices and they're in a bad way because they were bullied at school, they're still being bullied. Those bullies are still living in their head rent free. Yeah. They've got to let them go. And you've got to say to them, you know, just praise them, give people praise, let them know that, yep, you're doing a good job. If they need to do that a little bit better, that is fantastic. That is brilliant. I tell you what, can we go for? Let's go that little bit further and let's do that bit tomorrow as well. Let's do it quicker. It is the way that we speak to ourselves, the way we speak to others. We got to speak to others the way we would be expected to speak to. But like you say, absolutely, we are our own best friends. If you think about it, that person that you see in a mirror every morning, every night, they've been by your side always, through thick and thin. And I do something stupid. And when I first read it, I thought, that's mad. But I'll tell you, it still makes me smile because I high-five myself in my mirror of a morning. Because I go, you know, I do you know, a few affirmations, and because they work for me, and that's fine. And I look in that mirror and I go, do you know what? I'm going to have a good day today. I'm going to see a few clients, blah, 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 and you're by my side. Cheers for that. Bang. A couple of seconds, and yeah, but it still makes me smile because I'm stupid doing it. But it doesn't matter because it makes me, you know, walk out my bathroom and I feel better.
Yeah.
That's the key. You know, and it does with anything. You know, if you think about it, if you get out of the bed and you've got kids and you stand on a Lego brick, oh, that bloody hurts. And then suddenly you go downstairs and you're in a mood because who left that Lego brick? Or you know, the kids will look down, oh, dad's in a bad mood or mum's in a bad mood. Blah, blah, blah. Whereas if you get out and you're smiling, you're happy, they look up, dad's happy, they smile. And that is the same with your clients. If you walk up to that door, blah, 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 you know, yeah, smiling away. You know,
brilliant, John.
It starts with us all the way.
100%, John. Martin, do you have any questions at all?
My biggest problem I have is overthinking and anxiety when I'm about to make a phone call or go to a client's house, knocking on the door. I get real problems with my stomach, and I just wondered what technique you would think about using for that. Would that be a similar sort of thing with the finger?
Very much so, but you've got to think, why do I feel like, especially phone call, let's go back to phone. Would I be right in thinking that at some point you did make a phone call to do with your work and you either got a mouthful of abuse or you screwed up or whatever, and you, as you're dialing that number, you are reliving that moment?
I think it was people in the background listening to me making the phone call and criticizing what I'd said on the phone that upsets me.
Okay, so it was someone else's opinion of you that you let them get inside your head, and now it's still, even today, it's still having an effect on you because then they made you feel as if you wasn't doing it right or whatever.
Correct, yes.
So you've got to let that go. You have got to go, do you know what? I am me. This is me. I don't care what other people think. Because we don't. We've all got to be different. If people have got opinions of you, that's their opinion. That's their problem. That's not your problem. You have to let that go. You know, I mean, I'm boarding. I'm 5'4", 5'3", actually. I think I'm shrinking now. I do not let it bother me. I do not have a problem. I got into hypnotherapy because I had a tremendous amount of illness in my 30s and everything else. And I turned my whole life around because I changed my mindset. You don't let anybody live rent free. Are you good at your job?
Yes, I think so. Again,
don't say think. Don't say think.
Yes, you're right. I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you are. Okay. How many jobs have you done when you've knocked on that door and you've done a brilliant job and it's gone really, really well?
All of them.
All of them.
Pretty much all of them. Yeah.
Pretty much all of them. Because, you know, I've met you for the first time tonight and you come across as a nice guy and I'm thinking, yeah, if he can do what he's going to say he's going to do, I'm going to employ him. So what are you worried about? The people that have put you down, yes, you might have competitors put you down. They're going to put you down because they want that job. Then they're nasty pieces of work. You know, that's how they operate. You don't. You go in and you go, I'm good at my job. I can do what I need to do. Those people that put you down. So was you in some sort of call center then or something on that job?
No, just on a job, just on a normal job with just colleagues in the background.
Oh, right. Yeah. So it may be that those colleagues are thinking, you know, if he gets that job, or he's going to get, you know, he's going to have a good job there. He's going to earn big money out of that. So they start putting you down because they're jealous. They could be putting you down because that's their humor and it's not particularly funny, but they don't realize how it's affecting you. The bottom line is, don't let them get in your head. Don't let them get in your head. Let that go. Have you got a hobby?
Yes. I say jogging and walking the dogs, pretty much. We've got a lot of dogs. We've got 7 dogs at the moment. So looking after dogs is a big hobby of ours.
Good. So what you've got to think of, right, is, so I don't know if you do it so much nowadays, but years ago I was brought up on the edge of Epping Forest and you could just take your dogs over there, let them off the lead and then just let them run. I don't know if you can do that so much nowadays because of all the snowflakes out there, to be honest, but you could picture that, yeah? So what I want you to do is, you know that there is people, there's voices and there's phrases that are holding you back, that are living in your mind, went through, and they don't need to be there. Because some of that mostly happened years ago and it's still affecting you now, yeah? Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
So just tonight, when you lay on your bed, or in your dog bed behind you, whatever you're going to do, just imagine going out with those dogs that you really love to bits and everything else, but each one of them is either the stupid idiot who started having a go at you on the phone, or ex-husband, whatever. You know, you can even imagine that they've got collars on with the word, whatever, you know, the anxiety and whatever, and let them run. Let them go. Just let them run. See them run. Visualize them running. And as you go, just imagine, even if they're on the lead, you know, perhaps you've got one of those leads that extends as you go. Just imagine your anxiety, your worries going down that lead and out of them. They're running it all out, because when they come back to you, all they're coming back to you with is love and affection, not the anxiety, not the way. But you have got to tell your mind, I don't want to feel that. If you're a golfer, you can take it out of, with your clubs. You've got to make it about you. It's working with you. That anxiety that you're feeling, you are turning up. With my anxiety clients, I always take them to what's called the control room, because you can turn everything down. You know, anxiety, we all have to have a little bit, but we don't need it quite as much as what we allow it to build up in ourselves. So if you shut your eyes and you imagine that, actually, well, let's try it as it's a nice thing. Sorry for everyone else who's watching this on replay. You can still do it, but I'm going to work with Martin now. What is there an instant? You don't have to say it in this group. You don't have to say it out loud at all. But is there something that, if you was to think about it now, that makes you anxious, automatically changes your body language and everything? Is there something that you could think of?
No, not offhand. No.
Not offhand. So yours is when you are put into a situation
When I need to speak, yes.
When you need to speak.
Hmm.
So you tonight, you've come on here, you're speaking to me lovely and clearly and everything else. And I'm hearing every word you're saying, and it's absolutely no problem. You speak to Gary, you didn't know Gary. I know you're in the group, but you'd never met before, and you're speaking. Was you a bit anxious before you come on?
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so are your dogs?
They're the dogs, yeah. Just been let out in the garden.
Yeah. So what you've got to think of, you're going to go, well, what was I anxious about? This is great. There's nothing, you was worrying about, what are they, what if they can't understand me? Yep, we can understand you. What if I speak too fast? Doesn't matter. If you speak too fast, we'll say, oh, can you slow it down? Doesn't matter. You was worrying about the what ifs. So you'd have to change that what if. Okay?
Yeah.
But if there are times, if you let's just say that you've got to make an important call, a job that you really want that's going to put the food on the table, pay the bills and everything else. When you get that phone in your hand, is that when the anxiety kicks in?
Yes, a bit before that as well.
Okay.
Thinking about the rehearsing in my head of what I'm going to say, the speeches I'm going to.
Right. So you could sit there and rehearse what you're going to say, and then they could just suddenly throw something in, and then suddenly all what you've rehearsed just goes right out the window, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah? Always happens, yeah.
Yeah, so done. You know your stuff. You know what you need to do. You need to know that you need to let them know that you are more than capable of doing it, and that's going to be the price or whatever you're doing on that phone. So don't start thinking, because otherwise, as soon as it goes off track, you panic. And then you go, and then you start hesitating, and they're going to pick up on that. Oh, he's not very confident, is he? So you just go with it. You know what it is. It's that job. That's the price, blah, 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 blah. And that's what I want to do, and there's a list of if they want to see how they work, however you work. But don't go over it in your head, because you don't know what they're going to say or do. You've just got to be confident. So what you can do is when you pick up that phone, you've got to get out of that habit of going over in your mind what you're going to do. You just pick up that phone. But before you dial that number, just use your imagination, because our imagination is, remember, like I said before, your brain doesn't know what is true and what is not. But if you're sitting there, let's say you're sitting at a desk or whatever, I want you just to imagine that there is a dial in front of you, like a volume control, and it's going to go from 1 to 10. I want you to imagine just turning that volume, just as you're going to make that call, I'm going to turn that anxiety, because it's got the words anxiety written across it. And you're going to turn it down from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. I'm going to go even calmer than that. I'm going to go to 3. Should we go down 2? I'm not going to turn it off, because we all need a bit of anxiety. I'm going to leave it on 1 or 2, whatever suits me. And you're turning it. And when you turn it down, you'll hear it. You can even imagine clicking it down, and it goes down to 2. You take a breath, and then you make that call. Because you know you are good at what you do. You know that this is your business, and you are going to be able to provide whatever that client wants. Doesn't matter how many times you rehearse what you're going to say on that phone, because if they suddenly go, oh, I've only got a couple of minutes, and so just tell me what the price is, and it's going to throw you. If you start hesitating, if you start going, they're going to go, oh, well, no, bang. You've got to take control of that situation. That dial, and it doesn't have to be anxiety, it could be fear, it could be worry. But if you think about it, the things that you have thought about, the things that you've worried about, if they were your problems, you find that solution. If they weren't your problems, don't worry about it. When if you happen to receive a complaint from a customer, that's their problem. You can sort it, you will do it, but that is their problem. You don't overthink it, because by the time you get to that job the following morning, you've got the wallpaper coming off the walls, or the paint coming off, or the bricks falling out, or whatever. You've overthought it. No point, because you don't know what you're walking. So you've got to let it go. Don't let those thoughts
See, what's interesting as well, Martin, like you've come across brilliantly. You know, I would never ever guess that you were worried or anxious about coming on here.
Oh, thank you.
And it's kind of like, you know, just from what we've been speaking about, it's purely just an unconscious program from when, you know, those guys were overhearing what you were saying on the phone, taking a mickey or whatever. You've in this split second, you've just gone boom, straight back to that moment in time. And none of it's true, you know, it just relates to an unconscious program. Fight or flight's kicked in, you felt uncomfortable, and it's like, right, we need to get out of here. Let's not go on the phone again, because, you know, and your body's going to give you those sensations not to go on it. But like Jon said, you know it's not true. You know, it's just an unconscious program. You can imagine it, you can dial it down, and knowing, but you are good at what you do. And like I say, it is all in our heads, because you've come across brilliantly.
Thank you. And the thing is, these days, it's quite easy just to send a text, isn't it? So it's an easy way out of not having to phone and speak to people.
Yeah.
It's, you know,
people by people. You are not, you know, if, as I say, you know, if you was to come to my door, yeah, I'll be quite happy to invite you in and everything else. A text, they're all going to receive the text. All they want to see is the price in that and everything else, and when you're available and that. They're not seeing you. You've got to sell you, and you sold yourself tonight brilliantly. So you just do that all the time.
That's it.
You know, change those voices, change those negative voices into positive voices.
I will give it a go.
Think back of all the things that you have done, all the jobs that you are really proud of, what you've achieved in your life, even not just relating to work, all the things that you've achieved, and you've achieved them with those voices in your head. So think what you can achieve without them. And those, instead of being negative voices, they're actually positive voices. Your voice going, yeah, you've got this. Every challenge now, you don't look at it as, oh, don't know if I can do this, am I good enough, and everything else. Every time, you know, each job you come to, if you have got a little bit of, you know, nerves or a bit of anxiety, just tell yourself, I can do this, no problem. Because you tell yourself that enough time, it's gonna happen, and you can do it. You will do it.
Yeah, and like you said, like you do, Jon, you know, your habits, what you do, a high five in the morning, you know, you know, it makes you laugh, but I'll tell you what, it does work, because you're saying to yourself, I really like myself, you know, listen to the words you're saying about yourself.
Yeah.
Always, you know, big yourself up, you know, and be nice to yourself, and your life will change just by doing that alone, you know.
Without a doubt. When I did do my training years ago, I got into it, as I say, because in my 30s, 32, I woke up feeling absolutely fine. I walked into my bathroom to have a shave. I dropped down, I had a cardiac arrest. I had no heart conditions or anything, and everything. I got over that. I then had a stroke. Okay, as I was 34. 36, I had another heart attack. Cardiac arrest again. 38, I had another stroke. And I've got metal shoulders, so I'm actually 80% upper body disabled because I wore them out as a drummer. And I got to the stage where I suddenly thought, right, is this my life? Do I just sit on a sofa and claim benefits and watch crap daytime TV? Or do I do something about it? And back then, it was the old Paul McKenna videos that I used to use. And it got me out of it. So I was intrigued as to why it didn't only get me through it, it got me beyond where I wanted to be, because I'd lost my mojo, my confidence and everything, and it got me back. So then I was a teacher at that time, and I fell out of love with education. So I love kids to be kids, and I just, too much pressure, test after test. So I went and done my practitioner's course, and I loved it. Found out I could do it, and I really loved it. But when I went there to do a few days in college, and we had to all stand up. Guy walked into the room. It's a strange guy, because it was one of these, well, I'll say people by people, because you looked at him, he was a really scruffy sod. But as soon as you saw his face, his smile, you thought, I like you. There was something about him. And he just asked us to stand up. Why did we want to do that? And I just told him my story, my backstory. And he went along the line, and he came back to me, and he goes, do you take tablets now? And I went, yeah. I went from 0, and I'm on 16 a day. So he said, tell me what you do when you take your tablets. I thought, well, that's a bit odd, but yeah, okay. I said, well, I'll come down in the morning. I said, I flick the kettle. I said, I'll do my tablets on a Sunday night all ready for the week. So I said, so I pour them in my hand. I said, I'll look at them to make sure I haven't dropped any. I said, I get a glass of water and I take my tablets. And he went, yeah. He said, and when you look at those tablets, for that split second, you are reminding yourself how ill you were. You're hearing every beep and dot of that machine. You're feeling every tube that was in you just for that split second. He said, what I want you to do from today, morning and night, in your head if people are there, he said, or out loud if you're on your own, he said, do what you need to do. He said, you know, your routine is good, but when you look at your tablets, just say to yourself, today's going to be a good day. And you're telling your mind, it's going to be a good day because I'm taking these tablets and I'm still here. And again, it's one of those things that I've done religiously, and it still makes me laugh because he was right, because I didn't realize that I was recalling that, but thinking about it, yeah, I most probably was. You know, and now I'm telling myself I've had a good day if I take them overnight, or it's going to be a good day of a morning. It just changes my focus, my mindset. And that is what it's all about, just changing that mindset. You guys all know that you are good at what you've done. You know, if you're in business, we've just come through a hell of a 2.5 years of absolutely unknown. So now you deserve to go on and get better and bigger and be proud of what you've achieved. Don't let the idiots that have brought you down, or the ones that are in your head that have put you down, even perhaps when you was an apprentice and was learning your skill, you've come through that. That was all in the past. You've got to go forward.
Jon, that's brilliant. Martin, you got any more questions?
No, that's fine. Thank you very much.
I know Beverly's been listening in and we've been talking on chat a little bit, but unless you want to ask, come on, Beverly. We can speak as well out of Zoom session here. But no, Jon, I mean, you know, when I put a message out in a few groups I'm in, you know, hypnotherapy groups, and you said, you know, you'd do a talk, you were the first one I picked, you know, because we spoke quite a bit over the last few years, and you're just so brilliant at what you do. And I know the people that are going to be listening after, what a lift it's going to give them, and it just makes you feel really, really good, you know. And hypnotherapy is not woo-woo crap, you know. It's nothing. Hypnotherapy. It's nothing to do with hypnotherapy. No. You know, like the word itself. It's just what it can do, and understanding your mind and how you can change, and how you can change quickly as well. You know, you don't have to be suffering and going to talking therapy for years on end. You know,
you don't want to talk about it. You don't want to relive it. You want to let go of it, and you want to move on. But Absolutely. It does all start with you know, and even, you know, with what you were saying there, you know, talking is so important. And if you think about it, you know, you're all good tradesmen. That first impression that you give that client, you know, when you talk and you're one of, you know, if, and I said it to the other night, you know, if I have a client come here, they're really posh, I can be really posh. If they come in and F and blind, I will F and blind. That's what they want to hear. That's what they want to be. But they want to just hear what, you know, oh yeah, I could trust him, because usually you're going to be in their homes, their wife's going to go out shopping, or they want to know it's safe and everything else. They're not going to get that in a text.
Yeah.
They're going to want to meet that person. You sell yourself and you believe in yourself.
Yeah. Right, Jon. Honestly, I appreciate it so much. I know you're chocker busy, but I appreciate your time to come on, and Beverly and Martin as well. It's great to see you.
Hi, Beverly.
Hello.
Oh, she's come on. All right, Beverly.
Yes, yes.
But appreciate you coming on, Beverly. And Martin, like I say, you come across so brilliantly. You got no worries whatsoever. Just onwards and upwards from here. And
thank you, Gary. Yeah.
You can
definitely,
you know, create a business you want.
Yeah, just believe in yourself. You know you're good at it, and after what we've been through, you all deserve it. So yeah, good luck.
Cheers, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, you take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.